Ah, you are here. Welcome, welcome. I have been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Shiro, owner of the Matsunoki Cafe. Pleased to have such a fine individual as yourself at my establishment. Here my customers and I like to talk about anime, video games, movies, or simply whatever one may consider nerdy or nostalgic. Now that I've properly introduced myself, feel free to sit down, relax, and enjoy your own cup of coffee as I tell you a tale. Death is a constant presence. It's a fate that's inevitable and shared by all who walk this planet Earth. Many stories have tackled concepts and themes related to death to drive home messages to their audiences. Consequently, a few of those stories are some of my personal favorites, though that may have been rather easy for you to surmise based on my attire. Imagine my surprise when I discover a game that's of a similar vein of tackling such themes, but barely anyone is talking about or even heard of it. A game called Paranormasight, The Seven Mysteries of Hanjo. Oh, I'm not a fan of horror media. I've always been a scaredy cat who jumps at the slightest fright. The clips I saw from the few Let's Players covering this game showed a lot of promise. With birthday money to spare, I downloaded it on my Nintendo Switch and partook in a bizarre yet wonderful journey that threw me through loop after loop. I wish to spread the word about this very game to hopefully convince you to check it out yourself. With that goal for this discussion in mind, there's no need to fret about spoilers. I made sure not to include any such content in this video. It would be hard to convince someone on a piece of media if I spoil the ending, right? I've kept you waiting long enough. Allow me to present to you, dear viewer, Paranormasight. Paranormasight was directed and written by a man named Takanari Ishiyama. Ishiyama started out as a sound designer at Konami, credited for being involved with games such as Metal Gear Solid. He was a fan of adventure games growing up, so when he left Konami and joined Genki, he would get the chance to make his own adventure games in the form of the Detective Ryosuke Kibukawa series. There are 10 installments of that series, all of which had Ishiyama playing a big part in the development process. He would later go on to join Square Enix, where he would mainly help in the creation of games outside of the adventure genre. But Shiro, what does this history lesson have to do with Paranormasight? That's a fair question to ask, Sean. Yes, I can read your thoughts, and I'm just as capable of answering the question on your mind. Out of all the games Ishiyama has directed and written, Paranormasight is the first and so far only game to be localized and translated for audiences outside of Japan. Yes. Really, this is the only one. And it would seem the localization of this game was almost a miracle. Did you know this game was announced in the Nintendo Direct of February 2023? The same Direct that gave us sneak peeks into the final bits of DLC for both Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Fire Emblem Engage. The one that announced a new upcoming Professor Layton game. I don't blame you if you don't remember it, because you probably wouldn't if you live anywhere outside of Japan. This game was only shown in the Japanese broadcast of that Direct, even though Paranormasight saw a worldwide release in early March. I assume their reasoning for the omission is because for Japanese gamers, the announcement of Paranormasight was seen as Ishiyama's big return to the adventure genre. You won't get that same reaction with viewers in any other part of the world. Still, it is rather unfortunate that this game didn't get much promotion outside of Japan. Another fun fact about this game is the lead artist. The characters were designed by Gen Kobayashi, who some of you may recognize as the lead artist for The World Ends With You. As soon as that was pointed out to me, I could see the similarities. While this game's cast has much darker brushstrokes to their designs as compared to Square's redheaded stepchild, it's the way he draws the characters' faces that has a uniquely distinct style to it. One last name to mention is Hidenori Iwasaki, the lead composer. Square Enix fans might recognize him as the composer for 2022's Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. And While I haven't played that game myself, Paranorma's soundtrack is fantastic across the board, not a single miss in this OST. I mean, heck, you're hearing it right now while listening to this video. Better hope I can't curse you by having you hear this music. Alright, curses! That's actually a great segue into our next topic of this discussion piece. Paranormasight is set during the late 20th century in Honshu, a city within Tokyo's Sumida Ward. This unsettling story is told through the perspective of multiple protagonists who are forced to bear a curse stone. These curses derive from the 7 mysteries of Honshu, and certain conditions must be met for a curse bearer to inflict a cruel and deadly fate onto their targets. By killing enough people with their own curse stones, one of these special individuals will be able to perform the rite of resurrection and bring whoever they choose back from the dead. We have such great characters as Shogo Okie, the average office worker who has absolutely no idea what he's in for. Haruo Shigima, the winner of the most dead inside expressions I've ever seen on any character in my life. Tetsuo Susumi. Think Jim Hopper from Stranger Things, but instead of a psychic baby, he gets a witty rookie cop as his buddy. Yuki Takamiya. Ako Sakazaki, a friendly, tomboyish high school girl with a strong sense to do what's right. Each of our lead characters has a different view on the idea of resurrection. One of them may share a perspective that's close to your own standing on the concept. But, as I mentioned, these curse bearers will have to kill others, whether they be ordinary people or other curse bearers, in order to feed their stones enough soul dregs to perform the rite. That means there are curse bearers outside of the 4 I just showed you that will hunt them down for their own desires. And the many questions the cast try to solve will leave themselves and you the player guessing until the very end. Paranormasight is a visual novel adventure game. The player will explore and examine a variety of areas in Honshu, as well as interact with characters to progress the narrative. If you've played titles such as Ace Attorney, Danganronpa, and AI The Summoning Files, then you're familiar with the kind of playstyle this horror adventure has in store. When you finish a chapter, you will be sent to the story chart. It's here you can see the overall timeline and select which character and which particular event you wish to play next. Sometimes you'll be locked out of one protagonist's route for one reason or another, so you'll have to play as a different character in the meantime to meet the unlock conditions and go deeper down the rabbit hole. Now, while this is a horror game, scaredy cats like myself can take solace in that it isn't filled to the brim with jump scares and gory imagery. Death is always around the corner for our lean faces, so the horror of Paranormasight mainly comes from the dreadful atmosphere and the game's ability to make you second guess almost every decision you make. Multiple times in the game, you'll have to really think outside the box to solve puzzles and have your character escape a deadly situation. And I mean like mess with the game's settings to negate a curse bearer's ability levels of thinking outside the box. Oh yes, this game is not afraid to go a bit meta with its horror. The intro pulled it off in a way that immediately sent a light chill down my spine. Hey yo, what the fuck? This form of metafiction has become quite common in the video game industry. You have horror games where the monster or villain uses the settings of the game against you to amplify the scares. However, Paranormasight puts an interesting spin on this idea. Without going into any spoilers, it's you, the player, that uses the fact that it's a video game to your advantage to avoid game overs. Thankfully, the instances where the meta elements do come into play are few and far between, which ultimately makes each moment when it does happen all the more memorable. I can't exactly say much about a visual novel like this without diving into spoilers, which is why this video isn't a very long one. But I will say, this game struck an emotional chord with me a lot during my playthrough. I bawled my eyes out, I laughed to my heart's content, I was scared and felt my hair rise multiple times, I felt like a fucking genius when I solved puzzles, and I was happy and fulfilled by the time this tale of terror came to a close. I believe that's what makes this game as special as it is to me. It has spectacular writing filled with little details I pick up on during a second playthrough. The music is incredible, and so is the art direction. The mysteries the player tries to unravel are compelling every step of the way. When you put all these aspects together, you get a game that's greater than the sum of its parts. Please, I highly recommend checking out this game for yourself. It's currently only $20 and can be purchased on Nintendo Switch, Steam, and even mobile phones. I think a game of this quality that usually lasts 9 to 10 hours is well worth that price tag. Plus, the better this game performs sales-wise, the more likely it is Paranormasight will receive a sequel at a later date. I would love to see what other ideas Ishiyama has in store for the potential future of Paranormasight, and hopefully those future titles will also get localized for the whole world to experience more of his writing style. And that sadly brings our conversation today to a close. I sincerely hope this video was able to convince you to check out the game if you haven't done so already. If you enjoyed the talk, then I kindly ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Having more wonderful people to be regular customers of my cafe would truly be an honor to me. It's time we bid farewell for the time being. Until the next video, stay safe out there. Goodbye.